Jim LaValle is our guest on News Talk 710 KURV. We're talking about immune systems and all those little things that might make you hypersensitive to literally anything. And let's talk about inflammation for a second, and anxiety and your immune system. How do these things relate to each other? And what technically is inflammation? We use that word a lot, but what does it really do to the body?
Yeah, so I mean, inflammation, it has a purpose in your body. Inflammation is supposed to fight something, but then it's supposed to get turned off. And then your body kind of goes back to what's called homeostasis, or like an imbalanced teeter-totter. When you chronically have inflammation, say I'm under chronic stress, I'm eating the wrong foods, I'm either exercising too much or not enough, maybe I'm on some different drug therapies, and I'm working extra hours, whatever the reason could be that your body is now stuck in inflammatory signaling, that's known as metaflammation or metabolic inflammation. And that leads to another term that's in the medical literature called inflammaging, inflammation that damages your tissues and accelerates aging. So what is inflammation? It is the production of compounds by your immune system. Mostly by your immune system. There's other ways you can have inflammation that end up promoting this response of trying to repair something, but it gets stuck, and that starts to damage your tissues. So metaflammation and inflammaging. And if you're anxious, what happens? So as your anxiety levels go up and your stress levels go up, what happens is your brain starts making more excitatory signals, right? So heart rate goes up, resting heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up, and so that's adrenaline and noradrenaline, and as those things are going up and you're under stress, your blood sugar starts to go up. And, one of the most damaging things in your body is excess blood sugar, right? 50% of the U.S. population either insulin resistant or a type 2 diabetic right now. So we got a lot of people with chronic inflammation floating around in their body. So that's the key thing about what inflammation is, and it can get triggered by a lot of things. You can just eat too much sugar. You can get it, you can do it by stress. You can do it by exposure to things or not enough sleep. So there's any of those things that happen, but more importantly is what do you do about it, right?
Are you a vitamins kind of guy? Some people do, some people don't recommend vitamins to help boost the immune system and kind of stop all of these crazy variables that occur around you on a daily basis from affecting you. What's your opinion on that?
I definitely am a believer in vitamins, minerals, nutraceuticals, botanicals, and drug therapy. I mean, I'm not. I think when people say there's no evidence on vitamins, minerals, or botanicals, well, then they just haven't looked up the literature, because I've written databases on this stuff. I mean, I have databases that were in medical literature that doctors look up to look at interactions and all that kind of stuff. So there's good value at it. I'd say there's a couple that are really, I think, interesting and serve a kind of a big population. One is something called plant sterols and sterolins, because everybody's eating 10 to 12 servings of vegetables a day, right? We don't, it's not happening, right? Right? It's like, not unless you count French fries. For every French fry, that's a serving. But, so it turns out that plant fats that come from plant fats or plant sterolins, they're really good for your immune system. It's food for your immune system, and it helps your immune system stay in balance. It's called immune modulation, and it's called Moducare, Moducare. Really interesting compound, studied, lots of papers on it, and I like that because it's immune food, because most of us aren't eating lots of vegetables. It just isn't happening. I mean, we hear the story over and over again, but the net of it is, most people get three in if they're lucky in a day. And then the other one that's really interesting is aged garlic extract. Everybody wants to talk about, vitamin C and zinc and quercetin and vitamin D, because, it's the pandemic, cocktail. I'm a big fan of look, we're getting beyond that. What do you do that's more universal? Why I like aged garlic extract, there's first of all 900 publications on it, but it helps with blood pressure regulation. It helps with decreasing oxidative stress so that you don't oxidize your lipids and your arteries don't plaque. It regresses vulnerable plaque. It really helps kind of the chemistry of inflammation, because in the end, look, the chemistry of metabolic inflammation, it leads you to things like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. That's metaflammation. Your body's breaking down, and you end up with, a chronic disease because you haven't managed the inflammation over time. And that's been around. Look, that's been in the papers and medical literature since 2008, and yet nobody's talking about it.
Hey, where can we go to find more information on everything that we're talking about here today?
Well, for me, JimLaValle.com is easy, and if anybody's interested in Moducare or like that aged garlic extract, they could go to Kyolic.com, KYOLIC.com. They got all kinds of studies published up there. Another good resource, probiotics.com. I'm an editor on that. Obviously, probiotics are good for your gut and for your immune health.
Jim, thanks a lot for your time here today. That's Jim LaValle, clinical pharmacist and author of Cracking the Metabolic Code, joining us on News Talk 710 KURV.